was all right.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like, sometimes people, I'd listen to it, it was fine. Sometimes people's device doesn't get loud enough for some reason. Okay, okay, where are we now? So, okay. So, all right. So notice that. Whoops. Hold on a second. A little glitch in the matrix. Okay, line. Yeah, I think we got everything there. Okay. Jai. Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvacharya. All Snoteta Sachishi Shimad. His Divine Grace Sabaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Machuranam Ki Jai. Jagadava Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samadhi Namani Namaste. Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Jaja Tarane. So we are continuing with our study of the Caitanya Bhagavat, written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, with the commentaries of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. All right, so we're beginning with the Adi Kand, that's the Adi Leela, chapter 1, text 8. Amara Bhaktera Puja Hama Hoite Bada Se Prabhu Vede Bhagavate Kaila Dada. That same Supreme Personality of Godhead has declared in the Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam, worship of my devotees is superior to worship of me. And I'll read some of the commentary. I think it's not that long. Actually, it's a beautiful commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The devotees who worship the opulent feature of the Lord, that's the Vaikuntha feature of the Lord, first develop in their hearts the conception that only the worship of the Supreme Lord is important. This conception, however, the Supreme Lord is a power. I'm going to read that statement, that only the worship of the Supreme Lord is important. This conception, so what do we know that as? Now I'm going to ask a question to make sure everyone's awake. What stage of devotional service is that known as? Starts with a K. Kanishta. That you see Krishna in the temple. Krishna's not outside the temple. So in the temple room you behave yourself. And outside the temple what? All hell breaks loose. I gave the example of this movie that I saw before I joined the movement. It was named Never on Sunday. Don't look it up on Netflix. It's about a lady who had an improper occupation, and Sunday she was very pious. So anyway, so this conception, however, diminishes the glories of worshiping the devotees and exhibits their lack of love and devotion for the Supreme Lord. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments from the Padma Purana. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tvariyanam samarchanam archayatva tu govinda tadyan archayat tudya nasa bhagavatokya kevalam dambika smata. Of all types of worship of Lord Vishnu is best, and better than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of his devotee, the Vaishnava. One who performs worship of Lord Vishnu but fails to worship his devotees should be understood to be not a devotee but of the Lord, but simply a victim of false pride. So when you're doing deity worship, you're supposed to actually stop the deity worship if a Vaishnava comes in and there's no one else to receive him. Wow. I haven't seen that done too many places. The word, I mean, obviously the Vaishnava wants it. Not that some guest coming to take darshan of the deity, you stop doing arati. That's not the point. The word, the law, means drita, or determination, in the path of awe and reverence. The Supreme Lord alone is worship, and his servants are the worshippers. But in the path of spontaneous attachment, awe and reverence are not prominent in the relationship between the object and worshipper. Rather, the attitude of service is prominent. The servants have great pride in their service. Therefore, the servants in Madhurya Ras, that's the conjugal relationship, consider themselves greater than their worshipable Lord Krishna. In other words, such persons consider their worshipable Lord as subordinate or under their control. The superiority of worshiping the Lord's devotees is celebrated in the Vedas. So you actually see there's a hierarchy as one goes up to the different rasas. Of course, in the Shanta Ras, then there's the opulence. Oh, God is great. And then the Dashras, I'm his servant, gets a little closer. And then Sakya Ras, he's my buddy. It gets even closer. And you have different varieties of buddies. That means friends, in case you didn't know. Different varieties of buddies. Some actually consider Krishna to be older. Some are equal in age. And some are actually... Some actually consider Krishna to be inferior to them, even amongst the Sakas. And then, what to speak of the Vatsalya? Then Krishna has to be taken care of. He has to behave himself. You better listen to me. And then in Madhurya, it's Krishna. Then you can take a stick and keep Krishna away from Radharani. So the superiority of worshiping the Lord's devotees is celebrated in the Vedas. Some examples are found in the following statements. In the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.10 states, Tasmat Atmatyan Yarchayad Bhutikama. By worshiping the devotees of the Lord, all one's desires will be fulfilled. Wow. It's an easy way. Baladev Vidyabhushan has written in his Govinda Bhasha commentary in the Vedanta Sutra 3.3.51, Atma Dhyam Bhagavat Tattva Gyan Tat Bhaktam Icharta Bhukti Kamo Moksha Padyanta Sampati Lipsur Icharta. In other words, if one wants the highest benediction, he should serve the devotees of the Lord. Wow. Amazing injunctions. In Madhvacharya's commentary on the Vedanta Sutras 3.3.47, he quotes the following from the Poshana Shrutis. Tanupasya tanupaschasva tebhya shrunuhi te tamavantu. Worship the devotees of the Lord, serve the devotees of the Lord, and hear from the devotees of the Lord, for they will protect you. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23, it is stated, Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir, Yata Devi Jata Koral, Tashaita Katira Yartat, Prakashan Deva Atmana. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. There are many similar statements found in the Vedas. In the Itihasa Samuchaya, it is stated, Tasmad Vishnu Prasadaya Vaishnavanam Palito Shiyet Prasada Sumoko Vishnus Tenaiva Shan Na Sangshya. In order to attain the mercy of Lord Vishnu, one should satisfy the Vaishnavas. There is no doubt that by their mercy, Vishnu will be pleased. There are many similar statements in the Vaishnava literatures. Very important purport. That's why I read the whole thing. So then we go on to the 9th text. Worshipping my devotees is better than directly worshipping me. Madbhakta Pujabhyadika Sarvabhuteshu Manmati. When the great devotee Uddhava inquired about pure devotional service and knowledge of the Supreme Lord for the welfare of the living entities, Lord Krishna glorified his devotees in this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.19.21, while describing the various limbs of pure devotional service. 10th text. Eteke karilahage bhaktera vandana Ataiva ache karya siddhira lakshana. I have therefore offered my prayers first to the devotees, as this is the secret for attaining perfection. So he keeps reiterating, it means repeating again and again, this most important point. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, let's see how long this commentary. It's a long commentary, and it's basically the same thing, so we're going to skip that particular commentary. So text 11, Ishtadeva Vandan Mora Nityananda Raya Chaitanya Kirti Spure Yanhara Kripaya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Nityananda Roy, for he is my worshipful Lord. By his mercy, the glories of Lord Chaitanya become manifest. So Lord Chaitanya, of course, Lord Nityananda, is the original guru, Balaram Hoytland Nitai. Without Balaram's mercy, Nayamatma, Balahinena, Lablat, no one makes spiritual advancement. So, commentary. After first offering respects to the Vaishnavas, the author offers obeisances to his own spiritual master, Lord Nityananda, and then begins to describe the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The mercy of Lord Nityananda, the author's spiritual master, is the main qualification in his endeavor. It is to be remembered that Swayam Prakash, Sri Nityananda Baladev, who is non-different, remember we talked about Swayam Rupa, Swayam Prakash. Swayam Prakash means with the light or the effulgence of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri, but they're non-different, they're the same person. So is non-different from Swayam Rupa. Sri Gaura Krishna is the source of the following Vishnu Tattvas. Mula Sankarshan, that means the root. Maha Sankarshana, the three Purusha avatars. Karanadakshai Vishnu, Garbhadakshai Vishnu, and Shirodakshai Vishnu, as well as the 1,000-headed Anantashesh. So, all right, text 12. Sahasra Vadana Vandon Prabhu Balarama Yanhara Sahasra Mukhe Krishna Yashodama. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 1,000-headed Lord Balaram. His thousands of mouths are the abode of Lord Krishna's transcendental glories. Wow. So text 13. Maharatna Tvina Mahapriyastane Yashoratna Bandara Shri Ananta Vandane. Lord Ananta's mouths are the storehouse of gem-like glories of Lord Krishna, for valuable jewels are kept at an appropriate place. So, I'll read the commentary. The word tui in this verse means to keep, as people keep valuable jewels in the care of a dear and faithful person. Sri Gaurasundara Mahaprabhu, who is non-different from the son of the king of Braja, has kept the unlimited treasure of his qualities and pastimes with Anantadeva, who is the plenary portion of Baladeva Nityananda. Thus, Gaura gives the 1,000-headed Anantadeva the opportunity to serve him by reciting his glories in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Ananta is described by Sri Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. My dear king, approximately 240,000 miles beneath the planet Patala lives another incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the expansion of Lord Vishnu, known as Ananta, or Lord Sankarshan. He is always in the transcendental position, but because he is worshipped by Lord Shiva, the deity of Tamoguna, or darkness, he is sometimes called Tamasi. In his commentary in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Brahmananda Purana as follows: Anantas tito Vishnu Anantascha Sahamuna. Because Vishnu is the only shelter of the unlimited, he is called Ananta, or unlimited. In part 2 of the Vishnu Purana, there's a description of Ananta Shesha's unlimited prowess. He is the object of all devotees' worship. He possesses 1,000 hoods or heads. He holds a club and a plow, and he has various opulences, such as an enormous body. So we know Ananta Shesha is glorifying Krishna for a long period of time, and he never comes to the end of glorification, because the glorification of Krishna expands, or Krishna's glories expand unlimitedly at every minute. God is Ananta, unlimited, without an end. Ananta means without an end. That's why it's called Ananta Shesh. So, text 14, Ataiva ke balaramera stavana karile se muke spure chaitanya kirtana. Therefore, in the beginning, I offer my prayers to Lord Balaram so that the glories of Lord Chaitanya will manifest from my mouth. Wow. Just like before we give class or something like that, we chant Om Gana Timiranda Shagananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigadavana, which means I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master with the transcendental light, knowledge, dispelled this ignorance. Om Gana Timiranda Shah. So, anyway, so that's why we offer obeisance to the spiritual master. So he empowers one to manifest the glories of Krishna from mouth. For further description of the Lord's glory, this commentary of Balaram sees Lord Shiva's prayers to Lord Balaram in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Shukadeva Goswami's prayers to Lord Sankarshan in Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni's glorification of Lord Sankarshan to King Chitraketu in the Srimad Bhagavatam, King Chitraketu's prayers to Sankarshan, there's a lot of stuff, and Lord Krishna's prayers to Baladev in the Vishnu Purana. By considering these statements from the scriptures, it is to be understood that by offering prayers or glorifying the names and qualities of Lord Nityananda Ram, who is the personification of Vaishnava scriptures. So I'll repeat that. He's the personification of Vaishnava scriptures. A living entity's material designations or bondage, which are born out of nescience, are destroyed. The purified living entity then accepts Lord Nityananda Ram as his spiritual master, and with a purified tongue he glorifies the worshipful Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya under Lord Nityananda's guidance. Text 15. Sasrika Panantara Prabhu Balaram Yateka Karaye Prabhu Sakala Udam. Lord Balaram has thousands of hoods, and all of his activities are extraordinary. Text 16. Haladara Mahaprabhu Prakanda Sharira Chaitanya Chandrara Yashomata Mahadira. The Supreme Lord Balaram carries a plow and possesses a gigantic body. Although he is exceptionally grave, he is intoxicated by the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Text 17. Tadodika Chaitanyara Priyanahiyara Niravadi Sedehe Karena Vihara. There is no one more dear to Lord Chaitanya than Nityananda. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya always enjoys pastimes with him. Text 18. Tanhara charitra yeva jane shune gaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya tanre paramasahaya. Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya is the most satisfied with one who chants or hears the characteristics of Lord Nityananda. Wow. Amazing. Text 19. Mahaprita tanre Mahesha Parvati Dvaya Spuriye Tanra Shuddha Sarasati. Lord Shiva and Parvati also become pleased with such a person, and the transcendental goddess of learning, Sarasati, manifests on his tongue. And interesting commentary here. Lord Sankarshan is situated in the heart of Lord Shiva. Considering Lord Sankarshan their worshipful Lord, Shiva and Parvati eternally worship him with prayers. In this regard, please see Srimad Bhagavatam 5:17-16 to 24. Therefore, one who hears or chants the characteristics of Lord Nityananda, who is the original Sankarshan, pleases Shiva and Parvati, who accept that person as a servant of the worshipful Lord. That Lord Baladev always steadfastly increases the happiness of Lord Krishna. The words that are spoken in connection with Krishna's service by pure living entities who desire to serve Lord Krishna under the guidance of Baladev Prabhu are called Shuddha, transcendental Saraswati. The words that are devoid of connection with Krishna's service spoken by those who desire to satisfy their senses and ignore the guidance of Baladev Prabhu are called Asati or Dushta, unchaste or wicked Saraswati, unchaste Saraswati. So that would also apply, to the Ritvik people. Because Baladev's instruction is you got to accept the spiritual master and guidance. And Ritvik means you can pick and choose amongst any member of the disciplic succession who you want to think that you've taken initiation from. So, next one, 20. Parvati Parburiti Nava Buddha Nari Lana Sankarshana Puje Shiva Upasakahana. Along with Parvati and innumerable maidservants, Lord Shiva engages in the worship of Sankarshan. 21. Panchaskanda e Bhagavata Kata Sarva Vaishnavera Vanja Balaram Gata. The topics in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam concerning Lord Balaram, the original Sankarshan, are glorified by all Vaishnavas. Text 22. Tanra Rasa Krita Kata Paramaudara Vrindavane Gopisane Kadila Vihara. The narrations of Lord Balaram's Rasa Leela pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. That's called the Rasa Krita. Text 23. Dvimasa Vasanta Madhava Madhu Name Mhala Yuda Rasa Krita Kahaye Purane. The Puranas describe how Lord Balaram performs his Rasa Leela in the 2 months of spring, Madhava and Madhu. Okay. Oh, there's this commentary here where Sridhar Swami is cited by just talking about the months. So we'll skip that. Text 24. Sakala shloka he shuna bhagavate shri shuka kahina shune raja parikshite. Now please hear those verses that were spoken by Shukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the commentary. In the following 4 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1065, that's 17th verse to 18th verse, and 21st verse to 22nd, Sri Shukadev Goswami narrates to Parikshit Maharaj the full moon night Rasa Leela of Balaram and his gopi friends. Shukadev had previously just described Baladev's arrival in Gokula to receive the affection of his juniors, meet his former Braja friends, and solace those who were afflicted by separation from Krishna, such as the elders headed by Nanda and Yashoda, the friends of the same age, and the gopis who had fully dedicated their lives to Krishna. So, text 25. Dvamasau tatrat chavatsin madhum madhavam evacha rama kshapasu bhagavan gopinam ratim avahan. Lord Balaram, the personality of Godhead, resided there for the 2 months of Madhu and Madhava, and during the nights he gave his coward girlfriends conjugal pleasure. Text 26. Purna Chandra Kala Mrshte Ganda Vayuna Yamuno Pavane Reme Sevite Stri Ganavrita. In the company of numerous women, Lord Balaram enjoyed in a garden by the Yamuna River. This garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon and caressed by breezes bearing the fragrance of night-blooming lotuses. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur here quotes from Sanatana Goswami's commentary, and he says, basically, the Balaram was enjoying with his own gopis that are different than Krishna's gopis. In his commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that Balaram enjoyed his Rasa Lila pastimes on the bank of the Yamuna at the famous place called Rama Ghat. This place is far away from the place of Krishna's Rasa Lila pastimes. So different gopis, different place. 27 to 28. Upagiyamano Gandharvair Vanita Shobhi Mandale Reme Karena Yutesho Mahendra Iva Varana Nader Dundubayo Yumni Vavrishu Kushumar Muda Gandharva Muniho Raman Tadvirya Idere Tada. As the Gandharvas sang his glories, Lord Balaram enjoyed within the brilliant circle of young women. He appeared just like Indra's elephant, this is from the Bhagavatam, the lordly Airavata, enjoying in the company of she-elephants. At that time, kettle drums resounded in the sky, the Gandharvas joyfully rained down flowers, and the great sages praised Balaram's heroic deeds. Text 29. Ye Sri Sangha Muni Gane Karena Nindana Tan Rao Ramera Rase Karena Stavana. Sages condemn the association of women. That's for sense gratification, don't worry about it. And Prabhupada said, I'll explain what Prabhupada said in a second. Yet they glorify Lord Balaram's association with the cowherd girls in the rasa dance. So let me explain what Prabhupada said about this. The sannyasi one time was complaining to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, these devotee women, they're good association. But women, and women and men, it's like, okay, again, the example, fire and butter. And the men, when they're associated with fire, they become butter, and then eventually, too much fire, they become ghee. And even more fire, they become ghee hustas. Right?
Nice connection.
Or ghee hamedis. Either ghee hamedis. So it's the same thing. Prabhupada said, in illicit association between men and women. So for men, women are Maya, and for women, men are Maya. Just like I was talking to someone yesterday. It's an interesting discussion. This girl was telling me, she was explaining how she's transcendental, but she was explaining how when this one really handsome kirtan leader came here to Auckland, to the temple, all the girls started just like beating their eyelashes and decorating themselves even more, more earrings and cudgel or whatever. She noticed it, it's just like when a peacock comes, the peahens around there. So it was interesting because basically in this material world, the opposite sexes become attracted for the wrong reasons. The right reason would be, to serve Krishna, to have some nice compatible, marriage relationship where you can serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the wrong reason is because someone looks good, or at least looks good according to your material estimation. Because what is beauty in the eyes of the beholder, as they say. So, one man's food is another man's poison. So, like if you go to Africa, there's this tribe called the Ubangis, and it's considered very beautiful to have the girl's lips go out to here because they actually put these rings in the small girl's mouth so it grows out, the lip goes like that. That's considered very beautiful. And here's a Fiji example. It's among the Fijians that a girl looks very beautiful if she's horizontal instead of vertical. Isn't it? And even in India, when someone is overweight, you say, he's healthy. He's very healthy. I said, no, it's not a good idea. So anyway, I was thinking about that in regard to somehow other this whole program of professional kirtaniers going around ISKCON. They have this whole prasana. Prasana means this, like how they put on. It's like a few days' growth of beard. You've seen this? They come in and then chanting in the harmonium. Because they may be great devotees. It's not a criticism of any individual. It's like. You ever see that?
Yeah.
And the girls.
That's true.
So, anyway. And that's not criticizing everybody who does that, but you just see that people fall in Maya very easily. It's just like, oh, there he is. They're not considering whether a guy can make a good living, which is probably the most important thing in married life, money. So they're not considering any of that. They're just considering, instantaneous attraction. And that's the bad thing, the instantaneous attraction. Dharmic association between someone who is married properly is proper. Or if a devotee, a lady can give Bhagavatam class. The brahmachari. Sometimes, there's this story in New York that, I visited the Brooklyn Temple once in New York, and I noticed all the ladies were actually out in the street chanting japa. None of the men were. And I said, what is this? Why are they on the street, early in the morning, it's dangerous. It's in Brooklyn. And so I go and I find out, there's a rule in the temple. The ladies are not allowed to chant japa in the temple with the brahmacharis. So when Prabhupada heard about that, he said, they're so disturbed, let them go to the forest. he said Prabhupada was very upset with that particular restriction. So but you see this, some of this fanatic stuff like that. But actually, Prabhupada said the ladies who are Krishna conscious are good association, and the men who are Krishna conscious good association. That's the point. And Prabhupada, Prabhupada actually had young ladies doing service for him, like cooking for him, like Malati. And Prabhupada was not embarrassed by that. He actually had his godbrothers one time. They were sitting down taking prasadam, and Malati came in and cooked for her, and she was serving them prasadam, and they were all going, what's happening here? And Prabhupada said something very interesting at that point. He said, she would die for me, and I would die for her. So, Prabhupada showed that this is not material, these particular arrangements between devotees. Still, at the same time, one has to be very careful. Like if someone is not married to someone else, it's better, they shouldn't be alone with them. Whether they're sannyasis or brahmacharis or grahastas, because it's dangerous. Balavan indriya grama vidvan eva hi karshati, which means the senses are very strong, even for a learned person. Look at Visvamitra Muni, very learned person. He wasn't some, like dumb sage. He was, by that time, when Menaka came, he was a Raja Rishi. Eventually he wanted to become a Brahma Rishi, but at that time he was Raja Rishi. And Menaka came and he just said, Hari Bol. And that was it for the austerities. All right, forget about these symbols. But with Haridas Thakur, the prostitute and also Durga Devi came and he just said, chant Hare Krishna. And they both got initiated by him. So, so it's a little bit different. Eventually, Vishwamitra became an absolutely pure devotee, but that's a different story. Okay, let's go into the next verse. There's a lot of commentary, which I'm not going to read about association with men and women, because it would be like 3 days of commentaries here. I'm just paging through. Okay, text 30. Yanra rase deviyase pushpa vrishti kare deve jane vedam nahi Krishna haladare. The demigods came and showered flowers on his Rasa Leela because they knew that there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, here in the commentary, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountain of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is the second body. They're both one and the same identity. They differ only in form. He is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Also in the Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya 2174, it is stated, the first manifestation of the Vaibhava feature of Krishna is Sri Balaramaji. Sri Balaram and Krishna have different bodily colors, but otherwise Sri Balaram is equal to Krishna in all respects. Lord Krishna glorifies Balaram, who is non-different from himself, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You've embraced the young coward women between your two arms, a favor hankered after by the goddess of fortune herself, and that's Lord Krishna's words. Text 31. Chari Vede Gupta Balaramera Charita Amiki Baliba Saba Purane Vidita. The characteristics of Lord Balaram are confidential to the Vedas, but they are elaborated in the Puranas. What will I describe? Text 32. Murga doshe keha keha nade ki purana balarama rasa krida kare apramana. Due to foolishness, some people neglect the Puranas and refuse to accept the authenticity of Balaram's Rasa Leela. Text 33. Ekatani dvebai gopika samaje karilena rasa krida vrindavana majure. The two brothers, Krishna and Balaram, both performed Rasa Krida pastimes in the company of the gopis at the same place in Vrindavan. The word Rasa Krida in this verse refers to the holy festival, as explained by Srila Jiva Goswami's Lagu Toshani commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Kadachirata Govinda Ramaschad Bhuta Vikrama Vijaratur Vane Ratram Majagao Raja Yoshitam. Once Lord Govinda and Lord Ram, the performers of wonderful feats, were playing holy in the forest at night with the young girls of Braja. Let's see. Okay. I think we should hear about this. Commentary. After Sri Shukadev Goswami narrated to Parikshit Maharaj the Shiva Chaturdashi pastime of Krishna's liberating Nanda Maharaj from the clutches of the snake, who was actually the Vidyadhara named Sudarshana, he described Krishna and Balaram's holy festival with the gopis on the full moon evening. Beginning with the above verses, the author now quotes 4 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam describing this pastime. The word ata in this verse indicates after Shivaratri. The word kadachit refers to the night of the holy Purnima. The word Ram means he who makes Krishna enjoy. It is therefore understood that since Krishna and Balaram had sported together since their births, they enjoyed mutual feelings of friendship. The mood of friendship between Krishna and Balaram was particularly prominent in Braja, while in Dwarka, Balaram acted more in the role of an elder brother, who Krishna did not listen to anyway. In so many ways, like the kidnapping of Subhadra and different things like that. In this verse, the word cha is used with a desire to establish that Balaram's mood of being the elder brother is secondary. This mood is found in the observance of the holy festival described in the Bhavishya Purana Uttarakhanda and in central India. The word Bane refers to the subforest of Vrindavan. This is the understanding from Srila Jiva Goswami's Lagu Toshane. Ubhagiyamana lalitam Sri Janara Buddha Sohritai Swalankritanu Liptango Ashragvino Virajom Bro. According to Srila Jiva Goswami's Lagu Toshane, the translation first. Krishna and Balaram wore flower garlands and spotless garments, and their limbs were beautifully decorated and anointed. The women sang their glories in a charming way, bound them by affection. According to Srila Jiva Goswami's Lagu Toshane, Lord Balaram has his own group of gopi friends. We heard that before. All right, one more verse and then we'll take questions. Nisha Mukam Vanayantav Udito Dupatarakam Malika Ganda Matali Jushtam Kumula Vayuna. The two lords praise the nightfall signaled by the rising of the moon and the appearance of stars, the lotus-scented breeze, and bees intoxicated by the fragrance of jasmine flowers. Okay, one more verse. Text 37. Jagatu sarabhutanam manashavanam mangalam Tau kalpayanto yugapat swaramandala murchitam. Krishna and Balaram sang, producing the entire range of musical sounds simultaneously. Their singing brought happiness to the ears and minds of all living beings. Okay, and tomorrow we'll continue with text 38. Okay, so any questions? Questions or comments? Yeah.
You mentioned about the Greek initiation.
Yeah.
So is there any precedent that somebody can accept like posthumous initiation?
There's absolutely no precedence in our disciplic succession. I think the Sahajas have some precedence like that. That was mentioned by one devotee. But in our disciplic succession, no, not initiation. And we can certainly accept posthumous. So anyway, post-samadhi would be more appropriate. But we can certainly accept post-samadhi instruction like we are from Prabhupada. And there's no problem about that. Another point is about the Ritvic philosophy is that siksha is actually more important than diksha. And even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states that one should not discriminate between the Siksha Guru and Diksha Guru. They're equal and different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But practically speaking, Shiksha is actually more important than Diksha. Usually, the Shiksha Guru becomes the Diksha Guru. I mean, in many cases like that, but in many cases it's quite different. Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru. You could have many Shiksha Gurus, only one Diksha Guru, and you can accept Shiksha in the sense of, like we're doing from Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur from previous acharyas. But Diksha, you're not, just can't, because Diksha is like someone has to say, I accept. sometimes Prabhupada would say, I don't accept this person as my disciple. Someone wanted a second initiation, Prabhupada said, no, it's not ready. So you're actually taking away the ability to judge from the spiritual master. Because the spiritual master has the, like even in ISKCON, all right, let's say in ISKCON, not that everybody's liberal like me and committing spiritual suicide at every minute, but anyway, so we have many gurus. I've experienced, I'm not going to mention names, but many gurus, someone will say, I want to be your disciple to the guru, and the person will be worshiping for like 2 years, the guru, and they says, well, Krishna just revealed to me you're not my disciple. And the person is completely devastated. I'm not saying that's what people should do. I'm not advocating that as necessary or important or even allowed. So, I'm against that because, you hurt people. At least in the beginning, you should tell people that it's, it's not going to initiate you. You're in some part of the world. You're never going to see you, etc. So, but still we have examples in ISKCON where the guru says, no, you should take initiation from someone else. So why take away that ability from Prabhupada or someone else? That's one reason we have, just say the guru is just a machine, he just has to accept me. Acceptance is a two-way street. It's like, like sometimes or let's say talk about getting married. Let's say one of you girls, you want to marry, Vivek Oberoi, Akshay Kumari. Any other ladies here that like to marry Akshay Kumari? Yeah, Tilakini. She's smiling. She said, yeah, I really like him, He said, my whole life, I've been hoping. He's a devotee. I gave him a Bhagavad Gita. So I really like to. So let's have a picture of him here, and do this marriage ceremony. Like, swaha, swaha. And then Tilakini writes a letter to Akshay Kumar, I'm your wife. When you're coming to get me. That in marriage, both the man and the woman have the right to say no. Just like there's a question in the marriage ceremony, isn't it? Do you accept Tilakini, whatever? Sorry to pick on you. For everyone else would get offended. So, do you accept so and so as your wife? In the West they to have and to hold till death do you part, and you have a right to say no. People have done that. Yeah, she didn't pay enough dowry. That happens in India, right? And then also in the West, I don't know if you do here in New Zealand. If anyone has any objections, please speak now or forever hold your peace. You do that here too?
Sometimes I do.
In the non-devotee marriages. Devotee marriages, you don't have a choice. You just the parents say you're getting married. Not devotee, Indian marriages like that. So, you have a right, and someone else has a right to object. That's happened too. Someone is recommended for initiation. Someone comes up and says, do you know Guru Maharaj, she's smoking ganja. Well, he's not taking initiation. So, there's even the right of other people to object. There's so many fallacies to the Ritvik. It also means that one really is not going to surrender to anybody. That's really the point. And it also means, if you think that nobody is qualified, it also means Prabhupada is not qualified because he didn't make any devotees who were qualified. Prabhupada left the planet without actually bringing anyone to the point of Krishna consciousness. That everybody, in the Hare Krishna movement is a Kanishta Adhikari because Prabhupada couldn't do any better than that. And that's
It's a big offense.
it's an offense against Prabhupada. I can give 1,000,001 reasons why the Ritvik philosophy is just completely bogus. And the point is, the people who are propagating this Ritvik philosophy, they're acting more like gurus than the gurus in ISKCON.
Mm.
I mean, there's this one person, Madhu Pandit, who I'm actually friendly with. Friendly. And the way he runs his temple is his devotees are just like blind followers of his. I mean, I wish I had disciples like his disciples. I could take over the world. I mean, that's why he's able to have so much money and do all these things, because he's really a dominant personality. So, you do the same thing, but you give it a different name. What does that say? It looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, must be a duck. You could say, I'm your Ritvik guru, or I'm your regular guru, but basically, it's a way to for him to have that sort of obedience without taking responsibility. Let Prabhupada get the karma. It's like Christianity, I'm your priest. Jesus Christ died for your sins. He gets your karma. That's another thing. The spiritual master takes responsibility before Krishna. And there's he doesn't become karmic, but there's some lesson from Krishna he gets. And so, I'm not going to get a lesson for someone who I don't know. Let's say when I leave this planet and go to Yamaraj, so then, thanks to my disciples who give me a one-way ticket. Do not return, So anyway, let's say, I'm not going to accept anybody. They'll be crazy. They'll be completely insane.
Another example about it.
Yeah.
We are going to show you this Eklavya.
Ekalavya, yes, Ekalavya accepted him like a Ritvik.
He got all the power.
What?
He got all the power to.
Yeah, but what was that power? That power was not spiritual power. That power was material power. And in the battle of Kurukshetra, even after he had his thumb cut off, he was fighting on the wrong side. He was fighting on Duryodhana's side. But Duryodhana said, you got to give me Guru Dakshin. And Guru Dakshin was his thumb. Yeah, you get power. I mean, the tantrics get power too. That doesn't mean they're spiritual. There's different ways of getting power. We can't judge material success to be indicative of spiritual advancement or Krishna being pleased. I mean, the tantrics are like that. Like that one tantric that was opposed to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Visakheshana. He had a lot of power. He made Bhaktivinoda Thakur sick. He made his daughter sick while he was doing the trial. He could make flames come from his head. He had a lot of power. But there's demoniac power too. It's tantric stuff. So it's basically, I guess it's almost like a tantric thing. You get power from robot. So, I mean, the real power is the bhakti. Not how many followers you make, and whether people are actually becoming Krishna conscious. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said his success will be gauged by whether he can make one person Krishna conscious, one moon, rather than twinkling little stars. Twinkle, twinkle, little stars, how I wonder what you are. You know that song? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up upon a something like. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you want to be a tantric, we have Halloween coming up. All the devotees can dress as ghosts and demons. You can dress as Ravana on Tantra. Putana. Yeah, Putana, Ravan, Hiranyakashipu. Okay, we have to end now because. Yeah.
How about Sri Sampradaya?
What about Sri Sampradaya?
Is it Ritvik because they connect to...
They connect to Ramanujacharya, Shiksha Guru. They don't take initiation. they consider Ramanujacharya as their primary guru, but it's not that he initiates them.
But that is Ritvik, and they have been very successful.
They're not Ritvik. They don't. No, Ramanujacharya is not giving initiation.
So they don't take.
No, they have sannyasis who give initiation in the Sri Sampradaya, but Ramanujacharya is considered the primary Siksha guru, which we also are doing in ISKCON.
So that is exactly like ISKCON and Sri Sampradaya is similar.
Yeah, yes, very similar. In ISKCON, Prabhupada is the primary source of knowledge for the devotees in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And you may not get like day-to-day guidance from Prabhupada. That's usually the local persons, your associates, who are giving you day-to-day guidance. But Sri Sampradaya is basically doing the same thing. They have certain people that initiate. Now, in their Sampradaya, the initiating sannyasis are not, or grahastas, are not given as prominent a position as the gurus in ISKCON are given. It's a little bit different. And I think in the long term in ISKCON, that we're going to come to the point where the gurus are going to be more, this is my conjecture, the gurus are going to be more or less localized rather than people traveling around the world, the Mahagurus. It's going to be something more practical, where the guru trains his disciples up in the local area. But right now we have some dinosaurs like me. You know what dinosaur is? Brontosaurus rex, Tyrannosaurus rex, pterodactyls. You know these names, right? Who are, Prabhupada disciples, and we have some special claim to fame. But I think things will just calm down a little while, and it'll be more practical relationships. I think it's much more practical to have someone locally who's initiating and people get trained up than, and who knows how long we'll have the internet anyway. I mean, Facebook and YouTube and everything. I think things will be much more practical in the future. Not to say we'll have zonal gurus, that's not really the point, but it's really that people will see more practical guidance and I think that's, and you see that in many cases with many of the people now, or grand disciples of Prabhupada who are accepting disciples. It's becoming much more normalized. This is not a normal situation. I mean, I'm in the first generation of gurus after Prabhupada. And so we're in a transition period. We're in a transition period. Because we have special claim to fame.
Bhanu Maharaj was raising this concern about dominance of Diksha Guru, although we talk about Shiksha.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that will be taken care of as time goes on, naturally, because the Prabhupada disciples saw a certain standard worship of Prabhupada, and they're given certain prestige because they're Prabhupada disciples. They directly were with Prabhupada. I was directly with Prabhupada. I saw Prabhupada. I met Prabhupada, directly initiated by Prabhupada. It's the badge that I wear. It's me. I'm a Prabhupada disciple. But Krishna Chandra will go around saying, "I'm a Krishna Maharaj disciple." Who's he? So, he's the guy who played the guitar. I heard about him. What's his claim to fame? You got to look at it from a purely political, strategic point of view. It will normalize like that, and it will become more or less like the Raman. That's my understanding. And so Bhanu Maharaj is raising a very important point. It will normalize.
But as you mentioned, Siksha is more important than Diksha.
Yeah, Siksha is more important than Diksha anyway.
So anybody can take Siksha from anybody.
But they have to get the approval of their Diksha gurus to take Diksha from someone. I mean, it has to be really careful. The person cannot be given different instructions than the Diksha guru, or else it causes great confusion in a person's mind. Then person starts to select, pick and choose who he wants to take guidance from. It's like, can I get a second opinion? When you go to a doctor, you can do that. The doctor says, well, you need to have a nose job. Can I have a second opinion? And so you don't tell the doctor that. You go around to another doctor. You can go doctor shopping. People do that. Or when you're buying phones, I don't like this brand of phones, either Samsung rather than an iPhone or something like that. But it's just like shopping for gurus who agree with you. Would agree with what you want to do. Of course, if you want to play guitar, take initiation from me. You get away with almost any damn thing. I can advertise like that. The liberal guru, You can dress any way you want. You can do anything you want. As long as you worship me. Anyway. And then, really, we do have a lot of variety in our movement. And then we have very conservative gurus. I was in a temple that was led by one conservative guru. And visiting him, he's my friend, too. I have all these friends. I don't distinguish between conservatives and liberals. So I visited him. I said, where are all the ladies in the temple? He said, we make them sit all the way in the back. Just look. All right. Big temple room. Bigger than your temple room here. And these ladies are in the back like that. So I said, ladies in the front, men go all the way in the back. So, it's amazing the variety we have in understandings of, and that's not that one is right, one is wrong. I may have my own opinion, but, we appreciate unity in diversity, as Prabhupada said. Some of my very, very good friends, I'll give you the example. I have a good friendship with Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. He and I love each other, And, we're so diametrically opposed in our approach to Krishna consciousness. It's just like day and night, well, not black and white, but anyway. But, I appreciate what he's doing, and he appreciates what I'm doing, so. And we work together. I have one of his disciples is at our temple, and he's a wonderful devotee, and we just appreciate different moods. It's just like this flower garland, you have different colors. There's variety in approach to Krishna consciousness. It's beautiful. It's not that I don't, this is my favorite color, yellow. So it's not that I don't like this color, red. It's the color of passion. Anyway, so, and white is the color of purity. I like that. So anyway, so it's, variety, that's what makes it beautiful. Like Prabhupada said, United Nations of the spiritual world. And, I had so many friends, like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was my close friend. And his approach, he was more liberal than me. And he would go to Africa and dress like an African prince. And the GBC is an interesting story. Now you got me started on this. The GBC didn't appreciate his liberality, even though he was having tremendous success. He had this one staff, walking stick, that was like Lord Nrsingadev, had a head of Lord Nrsingadev, like about this big on it. Like that. And the GBC we had a whole discussion on the GBC how he should get rid of his stick. Can you imagine? What a waste of time. You can't carry around that stick; it's not bona fide. If you want to have a cane, it has to be a regular wasting time on something like that. And he's having success. Palena Padachita, you gauge from success. And so, here's the story. They got so upset with him that at one point he actually made himself a little separate from the movement for about 2 years. So, he's my friend. So I went to visit him. I was continually visiting him, and one of the other GBC persons said, "Don't visit him, he may bewilder you." And I kept visiting him, and I said to that GBC person eventually, "Come on, you come and meet him. He's not that bad." Because you just see someone at a distance and you think, until you meet them, then you really can't appreciate them. So he met him, and then within a week or two after that, he was back on the GBC again. So he could see that, he was a wonderful devotee. And he was preaching, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was preaching to like senators, that's our members of parliament, if you didn't know that, in America. And, important ambassadors, they were all coming to his center in Washington, D.C., because he had adjusted a few of the externals. So, there has to be variety in the movement for things like that. Okay, what?
Unconventional,
Unconventional, yeah. I mean, if you're preaching in Africa and you come in as a Hindu, and and basically they've been exploited by Hindus for so many years, and the same thing in Fiji, right? If we have to understand, if we want to preach to the Fijians, we probably have to bring in some white people to do that, or black people to do that. And then, that's a different strategy. Take them out of the country as soon as they decide to be devotees. So the strategy has to change. And Prabhupada was very expert in changing strategies. Okay, on that happy note, it's late for a very important date.